Good evening once again, Cougar Nation. Welcome back inside Studio C in the BYU Broadcasting Building on the Brigham Young University campus here in Provo, Utah. This is your exclusive look inside the BYU men's basketball program. We're coming your way in front of a live studio audience. Live studio audience, right? Yeah. Yes. And we are live and on demand on the BYUtv and BYU radio apps along with ESPN+. Here's what you can look forward to seeing on tonight's show. We will look back on a couple of games. Big Saturday road win at UCF, a tough game against Arizona on Tuesday. Former BYU head coach Dave Rose is profiled in this week's edition of Deep Blue. Our special in-studio guest this week is assistant coach John Linehan. We'll have our traditional game show segment with the coaches and a surprise guest, some audience Q&A, BYU basketball trivia as well coming up later in the show. Let's start the show by welcoming in the first-year head coach of your BYU basketball Cougars, Kevin Young. Hello, sir. Good to see you, as always. All right. Welcome back.
Good to be here.
All right, another great crowd for you here in Studio C, and yeah, they're lively. This is a live one. Most crowds are great. This one though, got a little something going on. All right, man, you've now played both of the league leaders in the Big 12 in Houston and now Arizona. You've taken on the best of this conference. What do you think of the top of the league so far?
Yeah, I mean, two good teams, obviously. Good, well coached, both of them, different styles, different strengths. We were right there with Arizona, couldn't put it away. Had some stretch there where we just couldn't get stops, and then hurt us offensively as well. So a lot of takeaways from it in terms of areas we need to continue to improve upon, but a lot of positives as well.
It ended a 4-game streak for you, a win streak, and a league as good as the Big 12. It's tough to win 4 in a row, so kudos to what you guys did in getting 4 straight.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to win, one in a row. So,
yeah.
So being able to go on a streak was huge, though, especially, digging ourselves a bit of a hole early in conference play. So, we have a resilient group. I've said that kind of all year. We were able to find some solutions to areas we were coming up short in those games, and then to put it all together for a period of time that we did was huge. One, for obviously the standings, but two, just for internal belief in what we're doing. And so we're looking to bounce back and kind of regain some of that confidence.
We've got these two teams in the Big 12 that have one loss in Arizona and Houston, but man, Iowa State, who was up there, they've lost 3 in a row. A bunch of teams kind of in the middle of the conference right now. There's a lot of excellence combined with a lot of parity right now.
Yeah, I think, on any given night, anybody can beat anybody. Obviously, the Houston and Arizona separated themselves. I think Texas Tech's as good as, anybody in the league. And so, I think we've proven that we're right there. We're knocking on the doorstep of being able to, beat some of the best teams in the league. Obviously, the Houston game, was not our night, but yeah, we're right there. We got to keep pushing, man. There's things we got to continue to get better. That's what I told our guys today. I mean, we're really right there in terms of being able to just, sort of push things, to where we want to get to. And this stretch coming up is a massive stretch for us.
After last week's show, you guys were right on the road to Orlando the next day, and we'll see highlights here in a bit. But let's just flash back to the weekend, because you're in someone else's building. It's a good building, good environment there in Orlando, and yet the BYU fans were as loud and proud as you've seen at any other venue you've been at this season. It's pretty cool to see. No matter where you go, it can be Florida, and a lot of BYU blue in the stands. Yeah, that was incredible. After the game, going out to the bus, and there was just felt like hundreds of people out there in blue going crazy. Was really neat. For me, I have some family in Atlanta. My brother and his family drove down, so that was cool. But yeah, it was. I think I've said this before, but guys like Trevin and Richie and Down, they're used to it. Trey and Foose, myself, my staff, for the most part, all of our new guys. It's it's pretty unique, I think, for us to kind of get that first go around of seeing what it's like. And yeah, Cougar Nation is it's deep out there. You know, sometimes on the way to an NBA bus, a lot of fans are out there waiting the superstars, and you got kind of a similar vibe from that on Saturday in Orlando.
Yeah, it was very NBA-ish. Yeah, even at the hotel, there were some fans waiting for autographs and stuff, which is very NBA, but it was cool.
The Arizona game we'll get to as well here in a sec, but, you know, marquee matchup, ESPN, postseason implications. That's one of the reasons you wanted to come to a league like the Big 12 and a place like BYU, games like you had Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, every game is a big game. I mean, that one obviously was huge. Environment was incredible. You know, it was so loud in there. And to be able to play against, you know, a storied program. You know, they've been good for years. You know, Tommy Lloyd's been a part of a lot of winning at Gonzaga and has brought that to Arizona. So, you know, hopefully it's a start of, you know, something where we can compete and look to knock those guys off, you know, year in and year out and have something that's, you know, builds into a rivalry of sorts.
Meantime, what a big road trip you have ahead here this weekend.
Huge. Yeah, huge. I mean, I think the Cincinnati game is, you know, the biggest game of the year to date. You know, we got a chance to go get another road win. You know, and be, you know, it's a situation where we're going to, you know, be on the road and stay on the road and go to West Virginia after. So I think, you know, our approach all year has been just, you know, what's the next thing right in front of us, whether that's practice, whether that's, you know, one game at a time type of mentality. So, you know, we have a mature group. You know, they understand, I think, how we approach things, and had a great day of work today at practice, and we'll follow it up with another one tomorrow and be ready to go.
Well, since we last met here in Studio C, BYU did indeed play 2 games. The weekend win at UCF and a Tuesday night fight between the Cougars and the Arizona Wildcats. Let's look back now at stats and highlights from both games presented by Intermountain Health, official medical provider of BYU Athletics. We start in the Sunshine State. It was UCF on Saturday. BYU looking for back-to-back quad 1 wins. Mawut Mag, what a day, Coach. BYU career high for him, 19 points. Career high for his entire career, 5 assists. He was 3 of 6 from 3 on the day.
Yeah, I think he's really streamlined his game. You know, he's turned himself into an efficient offensive player. You know, really playing within how we like to play, quick decision making. You know, try to get to the rim or spray it out. You know, I think that's where those 5 assists come from. And then, you know, he's been a guy who puts a lot of work on extra time on his shooting. And when he's taking time and space threes, he's able to, you know, knock them down. And then obviously what he does on the defensive end is extremely unique with, you know, how hard he plays and how high his motor runs. He's
an experienced guy that took a while to find his way into your starting lineup. But when he wasn't starting, what were you getting from him?
Yeah, I think early on, honestly, I think he was still trying to come back from injury. You know, he had the knee injury that derailed him. So I think he was trying to find his health, honestly. It just took a while, you know, it took a while. I mean, what we were getting from him was, you know, great attitude. You could see, you know, spurt to the defense, but it was that Wyoming game when Richie went down in the first play of the game, and then Mo stepped in and really hasn't looked back since.
Speaking of Richie, he had a typical Richie game in Orlando. 6 for 9 from 3 in this one. He scores 22, adds a couple of steals to his stat line on a +9 day. And, I mean, his threes were big.
They were big, yeah, timely. That one in particular was huge right there. You know, but he's been a guy who we've relied on to make big plays down the stretch, and the game out there was no different.
What kind of attention do you see him getting from opposing game plans now that you're into this a little bit?
Yeah, I think just, you know, last game they did a good job of really actually guarding his drives. You know, I think he shoots it so well. People are starting to, you know, make him put it on the deck, which he does well.
Great straight line driver.
Yeah, but now he's, you know, I think they're trying to wall him up a little bit more in the paint. So talk more about just trying to finish off 2 feet in the paint, either to, I think where an area he can take his game to another level now is, you know, kind of like Mo did in that game, is when he's driving and he plays off 2, if he doesn't have a shot, now kicking it and kind of keeping our blender going, as we like to say. So he's extremely coachable, and he'll adjust to those teaching points.
Saturday was one of Kebakeda's best games for you, I thought, too. 10 points, 7 rebounds, game high +17 on the day. He has 2 blocks to kind of close things out for you with an emphasis at the end. I thought Keba was tremendous.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, it's been harder and harder to take him off the floor as the season's progressed. In this game, you know, he hit the huge floater. He hit the 2 huge free throws in that game to help seal that win, and then, you know, obviously those 2 blocks at the end were as dynamic as it gets.
And you mentioned the 2 free throws. That was a huge moment of the game. Like, kind of sealed the deal for you.
It did. You know, like I said, his growth has been tremendous. You know, his multiple efforts, on both ends. You know, it's not easy to do what he does on both ends of the floor, where, you know, you're guarding multiple pick and rolls on one end, then you're asked to sprint the floor and then step up into a pick and roll here. That doesn't work. You got to fly out to another one. Oh, then by the way, go offensive rebound. And so he's just been really, you know, good. I think he's really found his way within our style. And like I said, it's getting harder and harder to take him off the floor.
Let's take a look at the final stat sheet from BYU and UCF this past Saturday. Great shooting game for BYU, and the Cougs were on a real good stretch of shooting from the field and the arc for multiple games in a row. BYU and UCF, you see it's a 6-point win. Any win is great in the Big 12, but back-to-back road wins for you. Yeah,
no, it was big to get, I think, a road win against a team who, I mean, you know, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I mean, they should have beat Houston, should have beat Kansas, quite frankly. And so to get a win on the road against a very quality opponent, I think adds to our confidence. That's kind of what I keep trying to preach to the team. You know, we're a team that can go out and play with anybody.
Tell the guys you're a good team. It's kind of sometimes that simple.
You know, self-belief is a beautiful thing. You know, I'm big on mindset, and just trying to share that with our group.
Well, after that Saturday game, it was a late-night slugfest on Tuesday at the Marriott Center. It was a 9:10 Mountain Time tip for BYU in Arizona. I want to highlight a couple of guys here that we didn't see in the last clips. Dallin Hall, 11 points for you in this game on Tuesday. He was 5 for 10 from the field, and a pretty complete stat sheet, too, with 4 rebounds and a team-high 6 assists for you.
Yeah, he played great. You know, it got a little shaky. That 3 was a huge. It got a little shaky for a minute, but he actually put the team on his back, made a number of plays off the bounce, hit that 3. Loved what I saw out of him. You know, we need that. We need him to, be aggressive. It's something I've talked to him a lot about. You know, I know it's been a different role for him, different style of play and so forth, but he's got to put pressure on the defense like he did in that game, and hopefully that's something that he can build on.
Foose played just 15 minutes on the night. He was a +1. He goes for 6 and 7 when he was on the floor. Pretty effective. You know what he can do around the rim, and had a good rebounding night for you. This is a guy, too, that I think a lot of room for his game still to grow here between now and the end of the year.
No question. I know he hasn't been, happy with how he's played, of late this game, and UCF, I should say. So those 2 games he's been better. He wasn't thrilled with how he's played prior to that. So he's got a track record of being very successful. His career field goal percentage speaks for itself. So right. I think with him, it's just a matter of getting to his spot, trusting his work, and he's a guy that we'll continue to rely on.
All right, Arizona stat sheet coming up, and kudos to the Wildcats, Coach. They're a 10-1 team in league, and they're ranked in the top 25 for a lot of good reasons. They played a good game.
They did. They're basically neck and neck until the last basically 6.5 minutes, and then they were able to, go on that final push that we couldn't come back from. But, they made threes. There's a team that really thrives in the paint. They made some timely threes. We missed free throws, which has been a bit of an Achilles heel for us. But they played well. You have to give them credit. Tommy's a good coach, and they came in here and were able to steal one.
Okay, not a lot of movement in the team sheet from last week to this week, which is a good thing because you're in a pretty good spot. A lot of the numbers really like you. Joe Lunardi's got you back in the field as one of the last 4 teams in. And one thing the Big 12 will do for you is give you a lot of chances to profile that or polish that postseason portfolio.
Yeah, no, we have work to do. We know it. I mean, that Arizona one would have been a huge marquee type of win. But like you said, in this league, it feels like those opportunities present themselves often. So we just got, like I said, it sounds cliche and super coachy, but we got to just worry about the next game in front of us. In this league, I think, is even more true because of how good every game, every opponent is, whether home or road. So, like the guys, we don't honestly talk a ton about the nuts and bolts of that and the tournament and this and that. We just talk about trying to get better every day. We try to talk about winning the next game in front of us. But at the same time, I do mention, like, hey, we have work to do. Guys understand what that means. It
says a lot about the league, though, that these next 2 road games you're going to play, both teams are below 500 in league, but they're both quad 1s for you on the road.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it speaks to the quality of the league. pretty much everyone has good wins against good teams, whether that's in league or out of league. And, you know, just never gets old saying just how intense every game in our league is and how hard it is to win on a given night.
Here's what's left for BYU. Back-to-back road games we see this weekend as the Cougars go out on the road, stay on the road. Then the two Kansas teams come in, back out on the road for the Arizona swing, staying out on the road once again. A home game, an away game, and finishing with Utah in early March. That is what's left for BYU on the Big 12 slate. All right, it is time for our first break, and this reminder that your day-to-day Cougar sports play-by-play happens on BYU Sports Nation. Join Spencer Linton and Jerem Jordan weekdays at noon Eastern on BYUtv and BYU Radio. When we come back, Deep Blue brings us the latest in the life of former BYU head coach Dave Rose. And assistant coach John Linehan will join us in Studio C as BYU Basketball with Kevin Young continues. Stick around.